and welcome back to the 12 Days of Kilmas. So far we've had the partridge stuffed in strychnine, cold turtle lake, which I mispronounced as purple lake, of course I did. And now, on day 3, we have 3 toxic friends. Everyone remembers what it was like to have a close little coterie of friends that you had while you were at school. Everyone remembers the best friends that you had those awkward first moments with, you know, first boyfriends or girlfriends, first rejections, first haircuts, first real dabbling with style change, and first murder. This is another story that comes from the US, so there are some obvious terms that I'm not quite going to fully understand, but these 3 girls were sophomores. Skylar Neese, Sheila Eddy, and Rachel Schoaf were completely inseparable. They were the trio, the 3 awesome friends that were gonna combat everything together throughout the high school years. They would constantly be hanging out, sharing tips, all of the typical things that teenagers do. Plan murders. However, 6 months later, it was very apparent that not all was well in best mates paradise. Skylar Neese went missing. It took another 6 months before any information came forward. No body, no nothing. And they tend to try and look for runaways in this time, so I'm pretty certain that the family probably thought she was still alive. 6 months after that, Rachel had a bit of a crisis of conscience and went to the police and admitted that her and their friend Sheila had in fact murdered her. Now obviously this was a total shock, seeing as Sheila had actually been friends with Skylar since they were 8 years old. That's a bit like if we saw that Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie had gotten a proper bust-up and one had just stabbed the other. Now when Skylar first went missing, her father saw that her bed was empty and things, and just assumed that she had snuck out and therefore she was staying at a friend's house and that she just hadn't come back. I have to kind of admit I've done it myself. But when Sheila came forward about what had actually happened with Rachel and her and murdering Skylar, well, the whole thing was blown out of the water at that point. Now, interestingly, the father was kind of half right, as in she did sneak out that night. She snuck out to meet with her 2 best friends. Now, despite Rachel and Sheila knowing the real truth, they went along with the lie as long as they possibly could. They would help the family searching for Skylar and try to offer support to the family. I mean, I know murdering your best mate, like everybody's had that argument with a best mate where they've just gone, oh God, I could just kill him, but nobody goes, what a great idea. Apart from these girls. To show the absolute callous nature of the girls, not only did they try to ingratiate themselves with the family, yet pretend to look for her, show comfort and support to the family who were missing, who were nervous about where Skylar could possibly be, and who were basically fretting their lives away. They had to top that. They got together and rehearsed their story. So when it came to it where they had to give their stories and their alibis to the police, it was word perfect between the 2 of them. And as any law enforcement agent will ever tell you, that if no 2 people tell exactly the same story, like down to the absolute minutiae, you know, you'd think that Rachel would say, oh, we went to the Starbucks, and then Sheila would say, no, actually, we went to the hardware store to pick up the we also went to Starbucks. But all of the lies obviously really affected Rachel in this, and she was the one who ended up having a nervous breakdown in December of that year. Now, it was after she came out of the institution did she admit to her crimes. So her confession, Schoaf agreed to lead police to the site of the murder, to allow the family at least to be able to recover her body and to be able to bury her. Now, obviously, of all this, you would think there's got to be some kind of serious reason to kill your friend. You know, maybe she cheated on her boyfriend with your boyfriend, or I don't know, maybe she sent a glitter shitgram to your friend. Maybe she spread really bad rumours about you in school. Do you know what these 2 girls said? We just didn't like her. Guys, can you imagine the situation you'd be in if every single time you didn't like someone you were like, let's plan their murder? I mean, I'd have some kind of substantial Fred and Rose West corpse issues if that was the case. Now, bear in mind, they're all below the age of 18. They're not adults. They, in their sort of teenager, half adult, half teenage mind, thought that killing somebody was a completely appropriate way of dealing with somebody that you don't like. While all this was going on, obviously Rachel was still somewhat on the run, but she did turn herself in. They then got passed on to the court system. Shoaff pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 30 years. Sheila took a little bit longer to get found by the police, so when she was found and arrested, she was tried as an adult, and she's looking at 15 years in prison. Now, as sad and cruel as it is that this friendship obviously went so far south so quickly, it became unbelievably toxic, which is a shame really, because you don't expect that when you're going to sneak out for a cheeky whatever you're going to do at night with your mates that, you know, you're going to get murdered. However, not everything terrible came out of this crime. The parents of Skylar managed to get a law passed called Skylar's Law. It requires all Amber Alerts for all missing children. So at least if you are in West Virginia and something similar happens to your child, or they run away or anything like that, the authorities should release a statewide Amber Alert. So at least something came of it. My brain seriously keeps going back to who the hell just goes, yeah, okay, we're gonna murder this person we don't like, even if they're like an ex-friend or whatever. How do you go from do like to don't like to could murder? So I suppose the moral of this particular story is that if you've got a friend who's a bit of a fringe friend group person and you don't particularly like them, just stop inviting them to parties, don't invite them out into the middle of nowhere, and off them with whatever weapon of choice. Thank you for tuning in and watching again. This is the third day, so we're a quarter of the days down. So let's keep it up. If you do like this video, please like it and subscribe. Obviously, I'm all small, and hello to all of my new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing, for clicking that little icon. It is actually going to help me. Have a Merry Killmas, and don't kill your friends.